What's up, everybody? Jensen Cummings here. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. It feels really good. I've said that about 400 times over the last 2 years. Today is the 2-year anniversary of Best Served Podcast launching. Best Served Podcast 360 now. Plus, we have a whole bunch of unnumbered episodes. So yeah, about 400. And we're gonna talk about it a little bit, and wanted to bring back my friend Elan Wenzel of Element Knife Company, who was the very first guest, kind of co-host on November 18th, 2019. We went live on Facebook and Instagram. No fucking clue what I was doing. And we posted a video today on our YouTube, and you can check it out on Facebook and stuff. And it's funny. We there's a little clip of the two of us being like, wait, where are we looking? What camera are we looking at? No clue what we're doing. But it was so important for me to just get the stories out there, and truly honored to have spent 2 years communicating with all of you. And it started in hard times, the live show, the web show, and I'll talk about that a little bit more as we go on. We're going to talk about the audio only podcast, true audio episodes that we started with, the first 37 episodes before the pandemic came about. March 18th, 2020, started going live on Facebook. Again, no clue. And you can see some of that in this kind of evolution of the show video. And I think we got a little blooper video dropping tomorrow as well. And then it was about hustle and communicate. You know, I, like so many of you, were just like, I don't know what the fuck to do now. You know, restaurants were shutting down. All of my consulting business went down to zero in like a quick span. Found myself a few months later on unemployment. Never imagined that in my life. And I think a lot of us dealt with that. And going live on Facebook and tech issues. And I was like, I need to hustle and communicate. I need to show up for myself and for all of you. So when I say thank you for, as always, for tuning in, I truly mean that. Thank you. A lot of you that I got to interact with helped me. It was therapy a little bit through the early days of the pandemic, getting to interact with you in this way. And almost 6 months, I was on 7 days a week, did not skip a single day because I wanted to show up for everybody, because that's all I could do in those tough times, and just kept finding people brought into our orbit who believed the same things, who wanted to amplify the worth and work of those that feed their community. And at any given time now, we have 13, 14, 15, 16 people working on Best Served. It's unbelievable. Truly grateful. All right. I want to bring in Elan. I'm on my own too. Usually, you all know Sophie's in the background. Look, the banner is still up. I don't even know how to take the banner off. So we're not going to have as many bells and whistles. Sophie isn't here to back me up. I'm going to be show running myself. So apologies ahead of time. But we're just going to have a little raw, real conversation with Elan Wenzel. Elan, so good to see you.
Likewise.
Yes, the knives look good in the background. We're going to talk about that. That's a different setting for you than when we first met. I want to take people back personally, you and I, and then we'll talk a little bit about November 18th and what that was like, and what it's been like since, especially since the pandemic, because our lives have changed pretty significantly since then. So you and I first met in 2010 when I was the chef de cuisine at Tag Restaurant. You were behind the sushi counter at Sushi Sasa, where you were for over a decade. And you brought in some knives with a Japanese knife broker. And it was the first time I had seen those types of knives, a lot of them that are behind you. I ended up over the years between Tag, Row 14. At some point, I had enough knives that I could have bought a car for, right? And so, it's that life for sure. So I want to go back to that time, because I think it sets the tone for your trajectory. 2010, when you started just driving a Japanese knife broker around to your chef buddies and hawking some knives. Like, what was the impetus there?
So, commonplace for me, Japanese cutlery. I trained sushi in Japan in 2004, started making sushi in 99. And it was common that an old Japanese guy would come around unannounced, making cold calls with a suitcase full of knives. And we ended up kind of becoming friends over the years. And I'm very inquisitive. So he would stop, and typically around our lunch break in the Japanese kind of sushi bar scenario, we would close between lunch and dinner service, and he knew to come right then, so that he knew we would all have time to come look at his wares. And I would buy a thing or 3 or 4 from him every time he stopped by. And over the years with our conversations, I realized he was only going to Japanese restaurants, and I happened to be friends with a lot of chefs in the Denver area. And I just said, his name is Tetsuya. He goes by Ted. I was like, Ted, I bet if I just gave you the numbers of my friends in Denver, you could go make sales calls and kill it.
Right.
And he was like, can you drive me around and call and make the appointments? And I was like, oh, my day off, it sounds like a pain in the ass. But of course, I appreciated him and I wanted to help him out. So that's how it all started. And he just crushed it. He just absolutely crushed it. And so we both had
Crushed
this
it.
aha moment of maybe we can
You're
do
like,
this
wait a
for a
minute, there's some
while.
money
Yeah.
in this thing.
Yeah. You know, and unsolicited, he cut me a commission check because he just probably quadrupled his sales. And so for a handful of years, we drove all over Colorado peddling knives. And in those days, driving around, I learned more about him, more about the manufacturer, that they didn't sell direct. And he basically made I also learned he wanted to retire. And he made an offer to me saying, look, you can sell knives when I'm not in town. And we kind of reversed it. So I ended up cutting him a commission of what I sold, and basically bought the business out from him.
Yes.
So just right place, right time. And for me, it was perfect. I love knives, and this was really more of a hobby and a side hustle in the beginning, but saw the potential. And so always wanted to work towards having a retail space.
So cool. I love you took the side hustle. Wait, first you took the passion, something you truly
Yes.
believe in, something that
Yeah.
was one of the instruments of your success as a sushi chef for so long, and then turning that into a little bit of a side hustle. You saw that first check, you're like, hold up, wait a minute. Like I can make some money off this shit. Let's think about this a little bit. Then all of a sudden you said, okay, now I'm going to take this on a little bit more seriously, right? You started to kind of peel away from sushi sasa. You started making a lot of calls. You would go and call on restaurants. You'd go and sharpen knives at restaurants. You'd drive around and hit up all the chefs. Then you got into online and being able to ship knives as well. And it was just like this. I'm in the basement studio right now. Like the video we posted today, I'm in my car in the Choose Fitness like parking lot with a headset on. Like we had to get it out. I remember going to your place because we literally live right
Yes.
next door to each other, and just
Knife
fucking
boxes all
knives
over the living.
piled
Yeah.
everywhere. It was like in place of furniture. I was like, is he gonna ask me to sit on that pile of Santoku knives over there? Is that like where I'm gonna sit right now when we chop it up a little bit? So it was really great to just see that. Like you just figure out a way, and for
Just
you,
make
there
it
was
happen.
massive outlays of cash. It's fucking scary. And it was so cool and so inspiring to see you. And then you and I talked a lot. And this is huge for me because I think content is such an unlock for us to be able to tell our personal stories, our professional stories, to be able to let people know what we believe in and what we're working on. And you were out there, we talked about it, like you're not selling knives, you're selling mastery of knife work. And it was like a light bulb moment. And then you're out here making content where you're showing people technique and you're showing people how to utilize different styles of knives on different ingredients, right? And then you were sharpening knives, and your sharpening technique is like none I've ever seen. Do yourselves a favor, people. There'll be links to you check out some content from Elan.
Nice.
Watching you sharpen a blade on a stone is like poetry. And so now you said, I'm going all in. You started a little kiosk shop at Broadway Market.
That's
Broadway
right.
Market completely folded and said we're shutting it down, but they had another location, Stanley Marketplace. So not only did you go to a
Yes.
new location, you expanded your footprint. What the hell were you thinking, man?
Survival.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, after a lot of thought on my end, and it was really, if I'm honest with myself, it was really fear and comfort and complacency that kept me from
Wow.
moving forward, and kind of those golden handcuffs. But I decided to just like, you know, I'm young enough, I have enough energy to do this, and I better do it now before I really regret it. And I really believed in the product, and I had to kind of find my way a little bit, and what my and Element Knife Company's identity is. And I knew it was always support and education, but it just took a little doing it to really kind of have that come to the top. And so decided to quit my day job. And when you're with a company for that many years, it's kind of a breakup almost, right? So a lot of
Yeah.
feels to get through there. And I love making sushi still, right? I had to come to terms with leaving a job that I absolutely loved. And, but right, I can come back to it if I needed to. So quit my day job. Didn't exactly have a plan. I just knew I needed to get involved.
Hmm.
So did a bunch of pop-up shops, did some fetch market type stuff, and I sponsored the Koshan tour, the
That's
North
right.
American tour in 2019. I was going all over the country just with a suitcase full of knives, kind of like Ted
I
was.
I
You,
remember. So hold on, I want to paint a picture for people. You look like an assassin in a movie that packed up these like hard plastic cases. Look like
it
you
was a gun
probably were
case.
packing sniper rifles in them. You had
Yeah.
multiple of them, all of these like boxes. You're kind of handy, so you like retrofitted your own stuff, and you be packing out. I was like, he's going on a hit. He got
Yeah.
contracted to knock somebody off in Kansas City, but he's going to Coshone. And I remember
Yeah.
that. And then I'd see you pop up your little stand. It looked sharp. It looked pro, right? So, you were getting out there, and it's kind of that thing where like it looked pro, just like this, but I still have no idea what the hell I'm doing.
Yeah.
You and I talking, I was like, you're like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing at this thing, but I'm going to talk about knives, and I'm going to like geek out on talking about Japanese folded steel and what's that, and so
Yeah.
you
We
did
just want
that.
to share our passion. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Like fervently. It like is so in you that you almost vibrate at a different frequency when you get the opportunity to talk about knives. I just sometimes like to hear you talk about knives. It's like hearing a nice bedtime story. You're just like, that feels right. So
Yeah.
so now, thinking about over the last 2 years, right? November 18th, 2019, once again, came over to my spot. We sat at the kitchen table. I was like, I want you to help me launch this show, Best Served Podcast. And Best Served Podcast was all about, we called Unsung Hospitality Heroes. It was like, I want to be able to hear from not just the people that I know, the people that have a name brand, a namesake. I wanted them to be able to introduce me to somebody new, somebody I'd never heard of, somebody who maybe never, and most of the people that I'm alluding to had never been invited to be a part of any kind of media or tell their story before. And so the premise was, I have a primary guest, and maybe 45 minutes with that guest was a full hour podcast. They would nominate somebody, and that second person would have a 10-15 minute spot to kind of talk about them on your episode, right? And so you were the very first, as you and I kind of co-hosting that day. And then we started out, Josh Nuremberg, one of our favorite restaurateurs, was on. We had Jose Salazar from Mitas and Goose and Elder out in Cincy, Eric Chiappetta from Chef or Death, Alyssa Thorpe from Jagged Mountain, like really great people. And each of them
Everything those
introduced
guys, anything those guys touch is gold. Yeah, they
gold.
do.
A
They do a good
hundred
job.
percent.
Yeah.
So and then for you, you TJ Hobbs. I was like, it took me a second there. You had TJ Hobbs, who used to be a chef running around with the Breckenridge Wincoop group. I remember on the Christina. So when I met, and who also took a different trajectory, right? Was like chef like us, and then said, I'm going in media. What the hell do I know about that? You're going into knives. Yes, you know everything about that. And he went into, started working for Autoclore, I believe, and was like working
That's right.
dishwashers and support at that
Yeah.
level. Why was that somebody that you wanted to highlight?
You know, I, over the years at Sasa, I got to know him because he was our Autoclore guy. And every time he came in, he was friendly. He had a smile. He just had this energy that brightened up the place, and that was inviting to me. So I would talk to him and chat him up, and I realized that that he was a chef, and we were colleagues in that regard,
Mm-hmm.
and learned more about him. And I just thought he did an amazing job. I mean, if we had the smallest of issue with any of our equipment, he was there within an hour,
Because he's
and
been
so
on the other
super.
side, right?
Oh
He
yeah,
knows what it
yeah.
feels like. Yep.
And so I really thought he was a hero in that regard. And to watch him move up through the ranks,
Mm.
and just like he did in the restaurant industry, so I thought it was worth a mention. He had that same kind of passion and energy for stuff, and just kind of cares about what he does. And I'm a big proponent of pride, but like the right kind of pride, and he embodied that to the
Right.
nth
Pride,
degree.
not vanity, not like
That's
those
right. Yeah.
vanity metrics that we sometimes play into. And it's interesting thinking about that because it's hard. I even talk about this, my handle right here is Chef Jensen Cummings because it's been that for so long. Yet I also grapple with like, am I a chef now? Am I only a chef because I work 75 hours a week for, 15 years and like burnt out and did some horrible things to my brain, body, my mental health, people that were loving working for me, people that I think I'm the biggest asshole ever. Like I had to like grapple with all of that. And I felt like I had my shot and I couldn't endure the intensity of being that all-star player. But I hope still, and I still have a little bit of that pride, maybe vanity, to be like, I still want to go to the Hall of Fame. I want to have a major impact on this industry and the people of this industry. I just can't do it as a player. Maybe I can do it as a coach. And then I'm like, maybe if you're chef, you're always chef to the people that you made an
Yeah.
impact on,
Oh yeah.
just like you're always coach. And so, it's hard to think about that a little bit as like, we grapple with our role moving into the future, and for me this legacy is so important, like fifth generation chef restaurateur. I have 2 young sons and a brand new daughter, thank you very much,
Gorgeous.
to
Yeah.
complete the family. And I looked at them, I was like, do I want them to be the 6th generation? And a couple years ago it's like, fuck no way do I want them to go into this industry.
Yeah.
I tried to walk away completely. I'm too in love with it. So I had to figure out a way that I could bring a positive influence, and best served was impart a way to atone, but also to help change the industry. And I see you doing the same thing in the way that you're like, I want us to have pride in the work that we do, in the ingredients that we use, in the tools that we have, so that
That's
we can put
exactly
the
right.
best work forward. And I really feel that, again, you're not selling knives, you're selling this mastery of knives. But what I've seen as maybe the next evolution for you that I've been so grateful to like notice is that I see you like recognizing somebody else's ability or where they're at and where they're hoping to go, and you like get them into the right knife. Not the best knife, not the most expensive knife, because you were little like, I only want the elite when you started. And now you're like, there's a knife for everybody.
That's
There's a
right.
tool for everybody. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, and to your point, yeah, in the beginning, I just was so excited to share the best of the best, and I was trying to force feed that down people's throats, right? But uh, uh, it's not about me at this point any longer.
Mm,
If it ever was, it's about being a service, about being a resource, and so as I grow, I'm able to bring on a broader roster of tools, and that is just going to be more helpful. And part of what we offer too is free education. It's part of that whole
yes.
support. So like as chefs, if you're local and you're in the chef industry or restaurant industry, and you're a chef, a young chef, an old chef, whatever, if you want to up your game, I tell people to just stop by the shop and we'll have a one-on-one knife sharpening lesson. I can bring you right behind the counter, give you talk to you about what I believe are the two most important fundamentals on knife sharpening. No matter what methods you impart, you want to
Mm-hmm.
utilize those. And so it's just all about that, getting you the right tools. And we're chefs, right? And you and I have talked a lot about this. It's the macro and the micro, and the right tools will absolutely fall into those sensibilities, because this is our chosen profession and it's hard work, right? And so we deserve the best, and I want to get the best into your hands, whether or the right stuff anyway. And then our customers deserve the best, our employers deserve the best, and it just can be all synergistic that way. So
Ooh,
yes.
synergistic.
Yeah.
That's a serious word there, man. Yeah, I love it. I love seeing the whole trajectory, man. And I just wanted to like highlight that because I'm so grateful for the friendship that we've had, so grateful for learning from you and watching you, and also being able to impart some wisdom, big old air quotes, to you as well. Because when you're an
Yeah,
entrepreneur,
100%.
it gets lonely. Like you're very much on an island sometimes. And so to
Sure.
have somebody else to bounce ideas off of and stuff like that has been really great.
Yeah,
Just an
there are
insider
some
tip:
less. Yeah. Uh,
have Elan show you how to sharpen knives. But what I do is I just hand them over the fence and then
yeah, we're
have Elan
neighbors.
sharpen them because they're always better. So what's happening in 2022 as we look to the next year? What's happening? What are you most excited about? What are you most nervous about? What's going on?
Surviving is the new thriving.
Mm.
So, most nervous about that. Are trends going to continue? Are things going to change? I mean, obviously, we know that people aren't going to purchase the same way, but are any elements of the old going to play into that? We hope so. Bringing on some new brands and more products. So
More products.
bringing
Your
on,
shop is already
yeah.
decked out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We're swooping up 3 new, maybe 4, actually, maybe 5 brands if everything works out, coming to the shop in 2022. And I'm not going to mention it yet, but I have some big plans for Element Knife Company in terms of its services and education. So,
Love it.
yes,
I
it's going
love
to be good.
hearing all of that. Well, appreciate you. Really like sharing the knowledge. I think that's the number one thing that we need to do. We get so tunnel visioned in what we're doing, get stuck in our 4 walls, and there's so much abundance. There's so much support. There's so many people that really want to see others succeed in this industry. And yes, often there's competition, and the restaurant down the street is taking butts and seats away from you, quote unquote. But the reality is, like, we need to find ways to uplift each other. We need to acknowledge each other, the good
Yeah.
and the bad. It's
Yeah.
important, right?
Denver is better than most at that, or Denver Metro, Colorado in
Mhm.
particular, is very good at supporting one another. But it's going to be more important now than ever.
More important
There's
now than ever. Yep.
the pie is big enough to have friendly competition, and if we just support one another and are nice to one another, and we
Hey,
all understand we're in this together, we'll make it.
imagine that. Yes, get out of that cut and control, scarcity, survival mode mindset. Start to shift to that abundant, invest, growth mindset. I think it's super important. And keep leveling up that education and that engagement, and keep posting content. You, Elan, keep posting content. I love it. I love that you put yourself out there, got on TikTok. You're out there making sure that you're getting
Yeah,
Instagram
TikTok.
contact and Facebook contact, educational stuff. So I want to see a lot more of it. Elan Wenzel, everybody of Element Knife Company. Really appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Thanks,
All
Jensen.
right, take care. Cheers.
Fair.
All right, everybody. Elan Wenzel again, first ever guest, November 18th, 2019. Today, November 18th, 2021, is 2 years since the very first time that started this podcast. So looking over the next few weeks, there's gonna be a lot of content that kind of reflect on the last 2 years. Every day going to be posting one of the original 37 episodes that were the audio only podcast when we were just on Anchor and Google, Apple, Spotify, before we started doing the full web show series, and sharing those. It's going to be really great, just even for me, some kind of trips down memory lane, the clumsiness of what I was trying to create. But it didn't matter. It was just about getting those stories out there, and I was fully committed to that. And I hope that resonates. We're going to have some little video clips of just fun acknowledgement of different guests we've had, different moments, different bloopers. Tomorrow, some great bloopers coming out, especially a lot of kids and cats have jumped in on the show. So we're going to acknowledge them as well. So look out for that. And 2022, for a moment, we're going to really focus on content storytelling. I have this idea that content equals all unlocks to the goals that we have. You know, if you're looking to sell a product like knives, content. If you're looking to get new clients, content. If you're looking to grow your small startup business, content. You're looking to get a job, hire somebody, content. If you're looking to develop an employee manual, sales deck, content. It's going to be the stories that we tell, the way that we're able to let people know what we're all about, what we believe, why we do what we do, who it is we're here to serve. That's going to unlock a lot of potential. And we're going to filter that through everything that we look at with creating new models for this industry that are equitable, profitable, and sustainable. Content is going to be the focal point. So you'll be seeing and hearing me talk about that a lot more. The rest of our team will be talking about that a lot more. That's it. Wanted to just go live, speak to all of you. Thanks, Michael. Appreciate the comment. You rock. Excited to be on your show, Voice for Chefs, coming up here in a couple weeks. My number one, Betsy, is always holding it down, literally upstairs with the fam right now, making sure that I can come be with you and share this space. So appreciate everybody for always. When I say thank you as always for tuning in, I really mean it. Appreciate it. I wore the hat for the throwback back during the pandemic when I was wearing a hat for every single show because we couldn't get our hair cut. I was feeling a little nostalgic even about that. Those moments where it was tough, yet I feel so much better for having gone through it, and the people and the business and the media that I've been able to find. And I'm rambling now just because I'm grateful. I really am. So that's it. That's it for this episode. What was this? Best Served Podcast. Hold on. Like I told you, Sophie's not here. What is this? Best Served Podcast 360, our 2-year anniversary. And we got to hear from my buddy Elan Wenzel of Element Knife Company. That's it. You have a great, great evening and a really great 2022. Appreciate you.